Hallo.
Wie schön, dass ihr alle da seid.
Nice to see you here.
Ich mache mit euch eine kleine Zeitreise.
I'll do a little time travel with you. It's the 26th of February 2021. And it's years two of a global COVID pandemic. There has been a vaccine for 2 months. It's a time of where the ministers of public health are being threatened with death. Thousands of people demonstrate against the vaccine and the COVID measures, and there's the time when we might have forgot this, of the priority groups. Thousands of people want a vaccine, but they're not it's not their turn yet. On this 26th of February, I have been the deputy leader of the second largest vaccination center that is run by the Maltese Order, and on this February 26th, there's 5 securities in front of my office, and the head of security says, "Ms. von Kempis, we have a problem at the entrance door," and my heart sinks. My name is Franzi von Kempis. I am actually a video journalist, and on this February 26, 2021, my own COVID infection was almost a year old. I called for a sabbatical at Daimler to build up a vaccination center. In the last 4 weeks, there's pilots, DJs, hairdressers, restaurant owners, students, hundreds and thousands who want to help in this vaccination center. And there's hundreds of volunteers and who wouldn't rather do anything else than help old people through the vaccination center. And I also learned that the BioNTech vaccine is called a diva, and because it shouldn't be shaken in the first version that was there then, which means that we had to put in styrofoam to transport it safely into the vaccination cabin. I learned that my job car, I shouldn't park my job car on the street, because it will be attacked with stickers or dog feces or thumbtacks beneath the tires and stuff. And sometimes you notice the dog feces too late, and it's not really good. And I learned that it's not really good when your security chief says there's a problem at the entrance door. This specific problem on February 26 was this name was Mexian, and it's a guinea pig. And this 90-year-old woman brought their guinea pig to the vaccination center, and Mexian, the guinea pig, was in a basket and was noticed, and the old lady doesn't want to give Mexian out of her hand. Mexian is sensitive to cold, and Mexian doesn't want to be alone. The solution was that Mexian and I waited in front of the door. Mexian got an extra blanket, and so that he doesn't get cold, and we give the student who leads the woman through the center and send her pictures regularly. The woman is calmed and is vaccinated and really happy. And from this shock, out of this shock comes one of my best moments. And if animals are not allowed into the vaccination center, you become a guinea pig sitter and send live photo updates. My biggest learning is don't put bureaucracy over people, not in times where people are afraid. and if that can be, even if that can be difficult for Germans. What I also learned, in a pandemic, information is a privilege. If you know someone who knows someone, then you know more. And then you have all the information, possibly all the information that to get to a life-saving vaccine. And this is one of my second learning is information management. I don't think it should be like this because that people get quicker to a vaccine because they have better connection or they have better language knowledge or just don't know how to Google better. I'm thinking about my friend with her lung cancer dad. This friend never cries. And she says, my dad has to get vaccinated for his first chemotherapy, but we are not getting his invitation. And what do people do that don't know of Franzi in the vaccination center? And when, things get lost, and I knew that there's an email that you can call, or a number that you can call in the Senate that will give you exactly this information for this exact case. But if you don't know this information, then you're lost. And how many people must there have been? How lost might they have been, and how desperate might they have been that they didn't get this vaccination. And I hope this information. And I think there should be circumpassing information that everybody could understand how to get treated, when to get treated, and I think. And I know this sounds as if I wanted to take down federalism. I know that I'm not a federalism expert, but I would like to give this information, this task, to my next learning point, and that is political management of the pandemic. Federalism, back and forth, it should be possible that that people should be on the same page, who should get which vaccine when, and give which vaccine to which age group in which time distance. And if that is different between different states and that over more months, then the trust in public institutions will not grow.
Ich hätte dann noch eine klitzekleine zweite Aufgabe.
There is a second thing that I want to put out for the political management.
Ratet doch mal, wann eine der
kompliziertesten when one of the most difficult times was at the vaccination center, when we didn't have enough vaccines for too many people, or when it was the other way around and we had too many, or when the vaccine deniers and the haters were driving around the center with their cars honking. Honestly, no problem at all. We all solved that. That was easy. The most difficult time was when we were in an election cycle, for the simple reason that everything was frozen. All I needed was someone to take a decision in the political sphere. And I find it very important that in a crisis, in an epidemic, we need people in the government who actually take decisions and who can do that. Nevertheless, or never minding the decision of the election. And I really felt it, what happens when you take decisions despite the election or the inaction of that. For example, about personal management or staffing. In those 15 months in the vaccination center, I found that the most diverse group of people want to help out that may actually need a job just because of the pandemic. and they're all ready to develop the job descriptions for all those jobs that didn't happen or that were needed before. And there is a need for those people. Pharmaceutical employees, medical staff, cleaning staff, the military. We needed all these people from all those different directions in order to solve this problem and do a good job in the vaccination center. We had a pilot doing the tech area, the IT maybe. We had a banker doing the accounting. We had a restaurant owner doing the canteen. We had a chemical student helping out. Older, younger people from the gastronomical area, from the hairdressers, from the online studies. They all came into the research center and they helped out. It wouldn't have worked without them. And because it wouldn't have worked without them, we need security for them in the sense of job security. We need to have security for those people in order to solve the next crisis. I can talk about an area that was publicly funding, and if you have a contract that is limited to the next 3 months, it doesn't give them any kind of security, and that it's a shame that these contracts that ran out within the next week, this is basically only being extended during that week, that doesn't give them any security. And if they have kids, for example, if they're a parent, it really doesn't give them any sense of security that they need. And I have to search new personnel all the time, mainly because those folks didn't get extended soon enough and they need to reorient themselves because they needed security in order to feed their family. And if those people that help us solve the crisis, that are creative, that really help us, and in order to not lose the knowledge that they've accrued over that time, we cannot lose them. And in order to avert that problem, I come to my last point, which is resource management within the crisis. It sounds kind of dry, but it's clear that within the crisis, we need a very specific set of resources. In the pandemic, there were, of course, resources that had very specific knowledge, for example, about virology. Within me, there was, within my center, there was a major from the army, and there was a medical personnel from the Maltese organization. They had decades of experience within this kind of topic, but he was already in a pension, and they took him back out of his well-deserved pension because he was the guy who really had the experience that we needed. And we had a medical team that was led by a couple of pediatricians who were also in pension already that helped out. Basically, a lot of the doctors that they have were already in the hospital on solving other things that didn't have anything to do with the pandemic because they were always understaffed. We had people dealing with refugees that need a lot of experience within that specific area. And what I'm wondering about is if we have the next pandemic or the next crisis, how do we get the people that we really need that have the specific knowledge that we need for this particular crisis? And for all I care, all of these information can be collected and stored in any kind of database or whatever. All of this exists. For example, if there was an internet-based tool that we need to collect all the information, that would already be a very good start, you know? But that would imply that all the knowledge and all the questions and the answers to them could be collected and stored. And in order to, when the next crisis happens, we can look it up and say, okay, we had that specific problem as well. What was the solution back then? Can we reuse that? And because I didn't just want to talk about things that look ahead, I also want to look back on the last 15 months that were fantastic, but also kind of stretching my nerves. I want to talk about gratefulness and thankfulness. It is so important to say thank you every now and then in a crisis. This is just a very small example that I want to show you. We got so many letters. They came via mail. People gave them to us when they visited us during the vaccination. They put it into the pockets of some wheelchairs that were there, and they really just said thank you.
On the 28th February of 2023, we closed the vaccination center. I learned so much that doesn't fit into 15 minutes, and I'm just saying thank you that you continue thinking, that you came here, that you so the pandemic isn't over. The next crisis has just overtaken us. Let's stay thankful for this, and let's keep our eyes open, and yeah, thank you.